The war had raged on for years. The Dominion, a ruthless, galaxy-spanning empire, had obliterated civilization after civilization, consuming everything in its path. Earth had held out longer than anyone had dared hope. But with every passing day, their resources dwindled, their defenses weakened. It was only a matter of time before the Dominion's forces overwhelmed the planet. Commander Rhea Kincaid stood at the edge of a shattered command center, her fingers gripping a metal railing as she surveyed the war-torn skyline of New York. The city had once been a thriving beacon of hope and progress, but now it was little more than ruins. The last few human colonies scattered across the galaxy were falling, and even the fabled resistance factions could no longer mount a meaningful counteroffensive. A voice interrupted her thoughts, sharp and authoritative. "Commander Kincaid, we've located it." Rhea turned to face Dr. Livia Soren, a brilliant but eccentric scientist. Livia had spent the past few years digging through archives, looking for any piece of humanity's past that could help turn the tide against the Dominion. It wasn't just any piece of history they'd stumbled upon, it was a map. "The archives beneath the city?" Rhea asked, her brow furrowed. "Yes," Livia confirmed, holding up a digital tablet displaying an image of an ancient tattered map. "It's hidden in one of the oldest layers of Earth's forgotten archives. But it's not just any map, it's a map to a series of coordinates scattered across the galaxy. Coordinates that could lead to something far greater than anything we've ever seen." Rhea approached, her pulse quickening. She hadn't expected this. "What do you mean, greater?" Livia hesitated. "I think it's an ancient human relic, something left behind by the first wave of humans who colonized the stars. But the map's incomplete. We have only the first coordinates and a few symbols. I've been working with a team of engineers to decrypt them. I believe they lead to something powerful, something capable of defeating the Dominion." Rhea's mind raced. Could this be humanity's salvation, or was it another dead end? She had led her forces into countless failed battles, each one a reminder of the vast gap between humanity and the Dominion's overwhelming might. She could almost hear the echoes of the lost lives, the soldiers, the civilians, who had sacrificed everything in the futile hope that the next battle would be the one they won. Her gaze drifted to the faces of her crew, their expressions weary but resolute. They had become like family, forged through shared suffering. Now she had a new responsibility, not just to defend Earth, but to lead them into the unknown. "What are we up against?" Rhea asked, snapping herself out of her thoughts. Livia glanced down at the tablet, her fingers swiping across the screen. "We're not the only ones who know about the map. The Dominion has already started investigating ancient human sites, searching for any trace of the map's existence. They're not just after weapons, they want the knowledge. They'll do anything to stop us from uncovering it." A heavy silence fell over the room. The Dominion had nearly everything at their disposal: superior technology, vast armies, and a relentless hunger for conquest. But they were also relentless in their pursuit of secrets that could give them even more power. Rhea made her decision. "Prepare the ship," she said, her voice low but firm. "We're going after it." "Are you sure? If the Dominion is already after it?" "I don't care," Rhea cut her off. "If there's even a chance that this map can give us an edge, we have to take it. We don't have the luxury of waiting." Livia nodded, a determined glint in her eyes. "Understood. I'll finalize the coordinates and be ready in an hour." Rhea turned back to the ruined city outside the window. The battle for Earth was lost, but the war for humanity's future was just beginning. They would find the map. They would uncover its secrets, and they would use it to take the fight to the Dominion, no matter what it cost. "Let's go make history," Rhea muttered to herself, her gaze hardening. There was no turning back now. The Vanguard, a sleek, heavily modified warship, hummed to life as it cut through the dense atmosphere of Earth's crumbling orbit. Inside, Rhea Kincaid stood before a holographic map, the glowing lines shifting and rearranging as Livia worked to plot their course. The first set of coordinates had taken them far beyond the reach of Earth's familiar stars, to a system that hadn't appeared on any current galactic maps. As the crew prepared for their journey, a palpable tension settled in the air. This wasn't just another mission. This was humanity's last hope, their last shot at survival, and it would lead them into the very heart of the unknown. "Livia, what exactly are we heading toward?" Rhea asked, her voice steady but laced with anticipation. She had always been a soldier, a leader, not a scientist. The thought of relying on an incomplete map and fragmented clues gnawed at her, but she couldn't afford to hesitate. Livia, her eyes glued to the tablet, flicked her fingers across the screen. According to the coordinates, the first clue leads to an uncharted star system in the Viridian Rift. It's an unstable region, an area known for severe gravitational anomalies, spatial rifts, and unpredictable energy pulses. Even the Dominion stays clear of it, which might work in our favor. But the deeper we go, the more unpredictable the journey will become. Rhea clenched her jaw, her hands folding behind her back. "I'll take whatever risks we need to. Let's get there." The Vanguard rocketed through the void, its powerful engines propelling the crew into the heart of the Viridian Rift. Stars flickered on the edge of vision, their light bending unnaturally as the ship encountered the first wave of gravitational disturbances. The crew gripped their seats as the ship lurched, its hull groaning under the strain of the rift's erratic energy. "Hold steady," shouted Lieutenant Galen Ford, the ship's veteran pilot, as his fingers danced over the controls. "We're approaching the anomaly's core. Everyone, brace yourselves." With a bone-jarring lurch, the ship was thrust into a swirling vortex of light and dark, the stars stretching into long, glowing streaks as if they were alive and writhing in space. Rhea's heart pounded as she gripped the console, trying to steady herself against the sudden pressure. For a moment, everything went silent. Then, as quickly as it had begun, the ship burst out of the other side. The crew exhaled collectively, their bodies released from the crushing pressure of the rift. Before them lay an abandoned planet, dark and foreboding, its surface marked by ancient ruins and strange alien symbols. The planet's atmosphere shimmered with unnatural energy, an eerie silence hanging in the air. It was as if time had forgotten this place. "We're here," Livia murmured, her voice almost lost in the silence. "This is it. The coordinates match." Rhea's eyes narrowed as she gazed at the ruined city sprawling across the planet's surface. Something about it felt wrong. This was no ordinary place, no simple relic of the past. There was power here, power that felt both alien and familiar. She could almost sense it in the air, crackling like static electricity. "Prepare for landing," Rhea ordered, her voice commanding, though a knot of unease twisted in her gut. "We'll investigate the ruins and see what we can find. Stay sharp, this place is too quiet." As the Vanguard descended toward the surface, the planet's eerie silence deepened. The team disembarked, their boots hitting the ground with a dull thud. The landscape was barren, with jagged mountains in the distance and strange, glowing structures dotting the horizon. The air was thin, cold, and the sky was perpetually overcast, casting a muted gray light over everything. The ruins before them were vast. Stone pillars and broken statues stood like silent sentinels, their surfaces etched with symbols Rhea had never seen before. The architecture seemed human, but warped and twisted in ways that defied logic. It was clear that whatever civilization had built this place had long since fallen. Livia moved forward, tapping the tablet's interface to scan for any signs of life or energy sources. Her eyes widened as the screen flickered, revealing a hidden door buried beneath the rubble of what appeared to be a collapsed temple. "Over here," she called, excitement in her voice. "This is it. We're close to the first clue." The team gathered around, weapons drawn, as Livia activated the door's ancient mechanism. A low hum filled the air, and the ground beneath them trembled. With a deep grinding sound, the door slid open, revealing a dark corridor beyond. Ria's instincts flared. Stay alert. This isn't just a treasure hunt. Whatever lies ahead is bound to be dangerous. As they ventured deeper into the ruins, the temperature dropped and strange symbols began to glow faintly on the walls. The team moved cautiously, the only sound the echo of their footsteps in the silent hallway. At the far end of the corridor, they discovered a chamber filled with ancient relics, artifacts, technologies, and weapons. But it was the centerpiece that drew Ria's attention, a massive crystalline structure pulsating with energy, its core humming like a heartbeat. Suddenly, the ground shook. The air crackled with energy, and a voice, low and otherworldly, echoed in Ria's mind. "You should not have come." Ria's hand instinctively reached for her sidearm, but the voice wasn't from a living being. It was a warning, a message from the past. The next step of their journey was going to be far more dangerous than they had ever anticipated. This continuation ramps up the tension and intrigue, introducing strange, unexplored alien technology, the unsettling atmosphere of the abandoned planet, and a chilling warning. It keeps the reader on edge, hinting at the immense power and danger that lies ahead. The team froze in place, their breath catching in the cold, stale air of the chamber. The crystalline structure before them pulsed with an ethereal light, its surface rippling as though alive. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, a fusion of technology and something otherworldly. A sense of foreboding gripped Ria's heart. This place was more than a forgotten ruin, it was a warning, and the voice, though disembodied, seemed to know their every move. "Who, or what, is that?" Lieutenant Ford whispered, his hand resting on his weapon. Livia, her face pale but focused, stepped forward cautiously. "I'm not sure, but this structure is far older than anything we've encountered. It's as if it's waiting for something." Ria tightened her grip on her sidearm. "Wait for what?" Before anyone could respond, the crystal's hum intensified, growing louder, as if answering Ria's unspoken question. Then, with a soft thrum, the entire chamber began to shift. Walls that had seemed immovable slid open, revealing hidden pathways, leading them deeper into the heart of the structure. The voice in Ria's mind, now clearer than ever, spoke again, its tone dark yet strangely inviting. "Come, if you wish to understand. But be warned, knowledge comes at a price." The team exchanged uneasy glances, but there was no turning back. The map they were following, the ancient relics, all pointed to this place. The truth they sought lay somewhere within these walls. If they were going to defeat the Dominion, they needed whatever power this hidden place offered. With a decisive nod, Ria motioned to her team. "We're going deeper. Stay alert." They proceeded down the newly revealed corridor, their footsteps echoing in the oppressive silence. The air grew colder as they descended, the strange glow from the crystalline structure now distant behind them. Eventually, they reached a vast underground chamber, far larger than any they had yet encountered. The space stretched out before them like an underground cathedral, its ceiling high and jagged, lit by an eerie light that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. At the center of the chamber stood a massive ancient artifact, its form obscured by a thick layer of dust, but the faint glow of energy pulsed from beneath it. The air around it hummed with power. Livia stepped forward cautiously, her fingers reaching for the interface controls embedded in her wrist gauntlet. As she activated them, a projection of an ancient map flickered to life in front of them, overlaying the holographic display with glowing coordinates and symbols. "It's a map of more than just this planet," Livia murmured, her voice filled with awe. "This is a map of the galaxy, or maybe even beyond. It shows locations that have been hidden for millennia." Ria moved closer, her mind racing. "Hidden locations? You mean places like the one we just came from?" Livia nodded, her eyes wide with wonder. "Exactly. But these coordinates are more specific. They're like keys. Each one leads to a location where humanity's forgotten legacy might be hidden. Powerful technology, artifacts, knowledge, things that could help us win this war. Rhea stared at the glowing map, her heart pounding. This was it. This was the breakthrough they'd been searching for. These coordinates, scattered across the galaxy, held the potential to change everything. The Dominion might control vast swaths of the galaxy, but if humanity could unlock even a fraction of the power hidden in these locations. Suddenly, a low mechanical groan sounded from the walls, followed by the unmistakable sound of doors sealing shut behind them. "We're not alone," Ford muttered, drawing his weapon as he turned to face the now-closed entryway. Rhea's instincts kicked in. Get to cover, now! But it was too late. With a sharp hiss, the ground beneath them trembled, and from the shadows at the far end of the chamber emerged figures, tall, gaunt, and clad in dark, metallic armor. They were human, but their eyes glowed with an unnatural, unearthly light. They moved with fluid precision, their presence exuding an air of absolute authority. "Who are they?" Livia whispered, her eyes wide in fear. Rhea's grip on her weapon tightened. She had seen soldiers, mercenaries, and warriors in countless battles, but these figures felt different, more controlled. "Ascendants," Rhea muttered under her breath, the word sounding foreign, yet instinctively known. She had heard the term in the old texts, legends of a group of humans who had transcended mortal limitations, believed to be the remnants of an ancient order lost to time. The leader of the group, tall and imposing, stepped forward, his face hidden behind a sleek helmet. He raised a gloved hand, and with a simple gesture, the rest of the group halted. "You have discovered the path," the leader's voice rang out, but it wasn't spoken, it was felt, resonating within their minds. "And now, you must choose. Will you continue, or will you turn back? There's no middle ground." Rhea's pulse quickened. The Ascendants were not just a myth, they were real, and they had been watching. "We're not turning back," Rhea said firmly, meeting the leader's glowing gaze. "Humanity doesn't run from a fight." The Ascendant's voice echoed in their minds once again. "Then be prepared. The trials ahead will test you in ways you cannot imagine. Only those worthy of the legacy may claim it." Rhea didn't flinch. The path ahead was unclear, but there was no turning back. She had a duty to her people, to the remnants of humanity who still fought for a future. And if this was the key to humanity's survival, she would see it through, no matter the cost. As the Ascendants stepped aside, the chamber seemed to shift again, the holographic map now pulsing with new intensity. The path forward was laid out before them, hidden, dangerous, but offering the potential for victory. Rhea led the way. "Let's finish this." The Ascendants stepped aside, their haunting presence still lingering like a dark cloud. As the doors to the chamber opened, Rhea felt the weight of their unspoken challenge. This was no mere test of strength, it was something far deeper, more profound. The Ascendants had called it a trial that only those worthy could survive. "We move forward," Rhea commanded, her voice steady, though the uncertainty gnawed at her. There was no backing out now, the trials had begun. The team followed her into a narrow corridor, its walls lined with strange, shifting symbols. The air felt thick with an ancient energy, crackling like static. As they walked, Rhea could feel the pulse of the place, vibrating beneath her skin. It was as if the very foundation of the planet was alive, aware of their presence. At the end of the corridor, they reached a large chamber, the floor of which was a glowing, crystalline surface. In the center, a massive, floating orb hovered in midair, radiating a soft, pulsing light. It was beautiful and terrifying. Livia moved forward, her eyes fixed on the orb. This isn't just a power source," she whispered, almost to herself. "It's a test." Rhea raised an eyebrow. "A test?" Livia nodded, her voice distant. "The Ascendants are the guardians of this place. This orb, it's part of a system of trials that prove your worth. Only those who can harness the power within can continue on the path to uncover the legacy of the ancients. A low hum filled the chamber as the orb's glow intensified, and suddenly, a deep, resonant voice filled the air, again, not spoken, but felt within their minds. Welcome, seekers. You have come far, but the road ahead is not for the unworthy. This is the first trial, the trial of will. Rhea's pulse quickened as the ground beneath them trembled. The walls around the chamber began to shift, revealing a series of towering stone pillars. As they rose, the space seemed to distort, and strange, shadowy figures began to materialize. They were not fully formed, but their eyes, glowing with an eerie blue light, locked onto the humans. Defend yourself, the voice echoed. To prove your will, you must conquer what lies before you. Without warning, the shadowy figures lunged, their movements swift and fluid. Rhea instinctively raised her weapon, firing in quick bursts, but her shots passed harmlessly through the figures. They were not real, at least, not in any tangible sense. Yet they were dangerous, shifting and reforming with every strike, their eyes burning with intensity. The figures' bodies rippled like smoke, but their movements were precise, relentless. They weren't just attacking, they were testing, pushing the team to their limits. Each strike felt like a test of their resolve, a way to break them mentally. These aren't enemies, Livia said, her voice strained as she dodged a strike. They're manifestations of our fears, doubts, and weaknesses. Rita gritted her teeth. Then we face them head-on. Don't hesitate. They fought on, each blow from the shadowy figures, landing as hard as their deepest fears. Ford struggled to maintain his footing, haunted by the loss of his comrades in previous battles. Livia faltered, her mind plagued by self-doubt, wondering if she was truly capable of unlocking the secrets of the map. Rhea herself found herself face to face with memories of the failed resistance, of the soldiers she had failed to save. But they refused to break. One by one, the figures were repelled. Rhea could feel the pressure building, but she pressed on, her every move driven by the weight of the responsibility she carried. The stakes were too high. Humanity's future depended on their success. After what felt like an eternity, the figures began to fade, their forms disintegrating into wisps of smoke. The oppressive weight lifted from the chamber, and the orb's light dimmed, revealing a new path forward. You have passed the trial of will, the voice intoned, the words sending a chill through Rhea's spine. But there are many more tests to come. Only by mastering yourself can you claim the legacy that awaits. As the last of the shadows disappeared, the doors to the chamber opened, revealing another long corridor stretching into the unknown. Rhea exhaled sharply, her body aching from the battle, both physical and mental. Keep moving, she urged. We're not done yet. Livia nodded, though her face was pale, sweat beading on her forehead. We're only just beginning, but if we can face our own demons, we can face anything. Ford gave a grim nod, his eyes steely with determination. Let's finish this, for Earth. They stepped into the next trial, the unknown stretching before them. There was no turning back now. The map, the relics, the ascendants, they had already begun to change them. And Rhea knew that, whatever lay ahead, they had to succeed. The future of humanity depended on it. The escalation of internal conflict during the trial tests both the physical and emotional strength of the team, adding a layer of psychological depth that forces them to confront their own fears. The trials ahead are now a matter of survival, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The next corridor was dark, suffocating in its silence. The oppressive atmosphere seemed to press in on them, and despite their best efforts to remain calm, the weight of the trials ahead loomed over them like a specter. The path was narrow, lit only by faint, flickering lights embedded in the stone walls. The deeper they ventured, the colder the air became, and an unsettling hum vibrated through the floor, almost like a heartbeat. Rhea kept her eyes forward, her senses alert. Each step was measured, deliberate. There was no room for hesitation. The voice of the Ascendant had warned them that the trials would only grow more difficult, and Rhea had no illusions about what that meant. The deeper they went, the greater the danger. But this was humanity's chance to reclaim its destiny, and she wasn't about to let fear take hold. "We should be close," Livia said, her voice strained, the weight of the previous trial still heavy in her tone. "The map? It's shifting. I can feel it. We're on the edge of something big." Rhea nodded. "We keep moving. No stopping." They pressed forward, their footsteps echoing through the corridor. Then, without warning, the walls around them began to tremble. A deep rumble shook the floor, and a strange light filled the air. Rhea instinctively raised her weapon, scanning the space around them. A low mechanical hiss filled the chamber, and the walls began to shift, the stone doors sliding open on their own. Beyond them, a vast, open space stretched out before them, larger than anything they had encountered thus far. The room was dominated by a massive structure at its center, a towering spire that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. It wasn't like anything they had seen before, smooth and dark. It seemed to hum with a life of its own, the air around it rippling as if reality itself were bending. This is it," Livia whispered, awe and fear mingling in her voice. "This is the heart of the trial. Whatever happens here, it will determine if we are worthy." The hum intensified, vibrating through their bones. Rhea felt a strange sensation wash over her, like an electric charge running through her body. It was as though the very room itself was alive, judging them, testing them. Before they could take another step, a figure materialized at the base of the spire, one of the Ascendants, cloaked in dark armor, their glowing eyes fixed upon them. The figure raised a hand, and the air seemed to thicken with pressure, as if the atmosphere itself were pushing them down. "You have made it this far," the Ascendant's voice rang out, both inside their minds and in the air around them. "But the true test begins now. You must face what lies within yourselves, for only then can you unlock the power that sleeps here." Rhea felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean? What is this trial?" The Ascendant's eyes flickered, and then, without a word, the spire pulsed brightly, sending waves of energy toward the team. The air around them shimmered, and in an instant, they were no longer in the chamber. Instead, they found themselves standing on the edge of a vast, empty plain, under a sky that seemed to burn with an unnatural light. "This is the trial of sacrifice," the Ascendant's voice boomed in their minds once again. "To claim the power of the ancients, one must be willing to give up that which they hold most dear." Rhea's heart skipped a beat. Sacrifice? The words felt like a heavy weight, and the meaning behind them began to crystallize in her mind. The sky above them flickered, and in a blink, they found themselves facing a new challenge. Visions, flashes of their past, their deepest regrets and fears. Rita saw herself standing in a ruined city, watching helplessly as the last remnants of humanity were crushed under the Dominion's heel. Ford saw his fallen comrades, friends who had died under his command. Livia saw her younger self, questioning whether she was ever meant to be more than just a scientist, wondering if she could truly bear the weight of the responsibility before her. The visions were so vivid, so real, that Rhea could almost feel the pain, the loss, the guilt. "Focus," Rhea commanded, her voice strained. "We've faced worse. This isn't real." But the more she tried to push through, the more intense the visions became. The fear, the doubt, it was all consuming. Then, a voice cut through the fog of memories, sharp and clear. "Remember why you're here, what you're fighting for." Rhea blinked, her vision clearing for a moment. She looked around at her team, their faces drawn but determined. "We're not doing this for ourselves," she said, the words feeling like a rallying cry. "We're doing this for Earth, for everyone who's still out there, for the future." Ford's eyes hardened. "For humanity." Livia nodded, her expression resolute. "For the survival of our people." Together, they began to push through the visions, their resolve strengthening. The sky above them flickered once more, and the false reality began to dissolve. The pressure lifted. The trial was not about defeating the visions. It was about overcoming the weight of their own fears, their own sacrifices, and emerging stronger for it. As the final vision faded, the ground beneath them rumbled once again, and the spire's light flared brighter than ever before. The Ascendant stood before them, its glowing eyes fixed on Rhea. "You have passed the trial of sacrifice," the figure intoned, its voice echoing through their minds. "You are worthy to claim the power that lies beyond." The path forward was clear. Whatever awaited them now, they had faced the hardest part and survived. Rhea stepped forward, determination burning in her chest. "Let's finish this." The intensity of the trial grows, confronting the team with deep emotional challenges that test their strength and commitment to their cause. Their personal struggles and sacrifices become a vital part of their journey, setting the stage for what is to come. The ground beneath them shifted again, and the strange energy from the spire surged outward, pushing them back slightly. The entire chamber pulsed with a strange, rhythmic hum, as though the very fabric of reality was being rewoven. Rhea's heart raced, her breath coming in quick, shallow bursts as she tried to process what had just happened. They had faced their inner demons, their greatest fears, and emerged stronger for it. But now the real test was ahead of them. The trials had stripped them of their doubts and fears, but what remained was their will, their unity, and their purpose. "We're almost there," Livia said, her voice hoarse but resolute. "The final trial is close." Rhea nodded, though she couldn't shake the sense that something was shifting around them, something far deeper than just the trials. The air felt charged, as though the very walls were alive, waiting for them to unlock the final key. The spire before them now hummed louder, the energy it emitted crackling like static in the air. The Ascendant stood motionless, observing them with its glowing eyes, as if waiting for them to make the next move. Rhea took a deep breath and stepped forward, her team following close behind. There was no more room for hesitation. As she neared the spire, the voice of the Ascendant resonated in their minds once more. "You have proven yourselves worthy of the knowledge you seek. The final trial is not one of physical strength or will. It is a test of your capacity to wield the power you seek." Rhea's pulse quickened. The power they were about to unlock wasn't just a weapon or tool. It was a force that could shape the very future of the galaxy. If humanity was to win this war against the Dominion, they would need this power. But what would it cost them? Was there more to this ancient legacy than they understood? The spire before them began to open, revealing an intricate, glowing matrix embedded deep within its core. It was beautiful, yet terrifying. It pulsed with an unnatural energy, swirling like a storm in the center of the structure. As Rhea reached out to touch it, the air around her crackled, and a surge of power shot through her, momentarily blinding her. The vision came instantly, striking her like a thunderclap. She saw a galaxy in turmoil, planets torn asunder by war, civilizations burning beneath the heel of the Dominion. But then, something else, something new, emerged from the depths of darkness. A bright light, born from the core of a dying star, illuminating the cosmos with a brilliance that pierced the shadows. Humanity, the last hope of the galaxy. And then the vision changed, shifting to images of her team, of Earth, and of her own sacrifice, a single choice that would either save or doom the galaxy. She saw herself standing at a precipice, the weight of her decisions pulling her toward an unknown future. In that moment, everything was clear. The power they sought wasn't just a weapon, it was a force that would test their very souls. It would push them to their limits, and only by embracing it fully could they unlock its true potential. Rhea stumbled back, breathless as the vision receded. Her hands shook, and for the first time, doubt crept in. Could humanity really control such power? Was it worth the risk? But then she saw the faces of her team. Ford's unwavering gaze, Livia's determined expression, the silent strength that had brought them this far. They had faced the darkest depths together and emerged unbroken. They weren't just fighting for themselves. They were fighting for every soul left in the galaxy, for the future of humanity. You are the key. The Ascendant's voice resonated once more, its tone echoing through Ria's mind. But the choice is yours. Will you take this power and use it to defeat the Dominion, or will you walk away and leave the galaxy to burn? Ria's hands clenched into fists, her resolve hardening like steel. The choice was clear. They couldn't walk away, not now, not when humanity's future was on the line. With a decisive step forward, Ria placed her hand upon the glowing matrix at the heart of the spire. The power surged through her, and for a brief moment, it felt like her very soul was being torn apart. She felt the weight of millennia of history, of knowledge, and of the countless lives that had preceded her. She understood, for the briefest of moments, the full scope of the legacy humanity had inherited. But with that understanding came an overwhelming clarity. This was their moment. The power was theirs to wield. A blinding light erupted from the spire, and as it consumed the chamber, Ria felt herself and her team pulled into the heart of the storm. The power was awakening, alive, sentient, and ready to be unleashed. The awakening of the power within the spire represents a pivotal moment in the story, bringing Ria and her team face to face with the responsibility that comes with the incredible knowledge and strength they've unlocked. The stakes are higher than ever, as they realize the true cost of wielding such power. The light from the spire enveloped them completely, drowning out everything but its pulse, a constant rhythmic beating that resonated deep within their chests. The surge of power was overwhelming, and for a moment, Ria thought she might lose herself in it. It wasn't just energy, it was knowledge, memories, a torrent of possibilities crashing over her. The air shimmered, thick with the weight of the past, the present, and the future all tangled together. Her mind raced. This was it, the final step. Humanity's future was in their hands, and yet she could feel the heavy burden of what they were about to unleash. The power inside the spire was more than just a tool. It was a force capable of reshaping reality itself. They could use it to end the war, crush the Dominion, and restore balance to the galaxy. But at what cost? Beside her, Ford gritted his teeth, his body tense as the energy surged through him. Livia's hands shook, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and fear. They had reached the precipice. The final choice was before them. The voice of the Ascendant once more filled the chamber, resonating in their minds, each word echoing like the toll of a cosmic bell. Power has been granted, but understand this, the weapon of the ancients is not merely for destruction. It is a tool of transformation. It can create as easily as it can destroy, and with it, you will shape the future of all life in the galaxy. Ria's heart pounded in her chest. The Ascendant's words were laden with implications. Transformation, creation, destruction. It wasn't just about defeating the Dominion. It was about rewriting the very fabric of existence. What do you mean by transformation? Ria's voice was steady, though inside, her thoughts were in turmoil. The Ascendant's voice seemed to grow more solemn. The power you now wield can alter the flow of time, bend the will of the stars, and remake entire civilizations. But there are consequences. The road ahead is one of sacrifice. If you wield this power, you will irrevocably change the course of history. The galaxy will not remain the same. The words hit like a punch to the gut. The temptation to use the power, to crush the Dominion, to ensure humanity's victory, was almost too much to resist. But Ria knew this wasn't just a fight for survival. This was a fight for the soul of the galaxy. They could destroy their enemies, yes, but what would be left afterward? Would they still be human, or would they become something else entirely? A new force in the galaxy, one that could reshape everything in their image. Her mind flashed to the vision she had seen earlier, the destruction, the suffering, the burning of entire worlds. Could humanity truly bear the responsibility of wielding such power? Livia seemed to sense the conflict within Rhea. She stepped forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "We don't have a choice, Rhea. We're at the edge. If we don't use it, the Dominion will wipe us out. The galaxy will be lost." "I know," Rhea replied, her voice tight with the weight of it all. "But we need to understand what we're doing. If we unleash this power, there's no going back. Are we ready to reshape the future? To become what we were never meant to be?" Ford, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. "It's not just about what we want. It's about what we need. The Dominion's already taken so much. If we don't stop them now, there won't be anything left to save." Rhea's gaze swept across her team. They were right. The Dominion had ravaged the galaxy, left countless worlds in ashes. There was no time to second-guess. The war had already claimed too many lives. Perhaps the power they now held was humanity's only chance to survive. But at what cost? The spire pulsed again, and the energy surged, as though urging them to make a choice. The voices of the past, the ancient ones who had left this power behind, whispered through the air. "You hold the future of the galaxy in your hands. Choose wisely, for you are not only fighting for humanity, but for all life. Will you wield the power of the ancients, or will you walk away and allow the darkness to consume everything?" Rhea closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. She felt the weight of the universe pressing against her chest. The choice was no longer just about survival, it was about who they would become. Would they be the saviors of the galaxy or its architects of destruction? With a final decisive breath, she turned to her team. "We fight for humanity, but we fight with our souls intact. We will use the power, but we will not let it consume us. We will shape the future, but we will be the ones who decide how it unfolds." The energy around them flared one last time, the power surging outward, ready to be unleashed. The choice was made. The future was theirs to shape. But the consequences of their decision were still unknown. In this moment, Rhea and her team must grapple with the moral implications of their power. The stakes have grown higher as they realize they must shape not only the immediate future, but the very destiny of the galaxy itself. The energy that surged from the spire exploded outward, a brilliant cascade of light and power. For a brief moment, everything went silent, as though the universe itself was holding its breath. Rhea stood at the center, her heart pounding, her hand still pressed against the matrix. The power coursed through her, alive and sentient, filling her with both awe and terror. It was as though the weight of all existence had converged upon her, and the galaxy's future hung in the balance. "Now," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum that filled the air. "Now we make our stand." The chamber around them began to shimmer, its walls warping as the power unlocked the path forward. The Ascendant, standing motionless, watched them, its gaze never leaving Rhea. It had not spoken again since their choice, but the weight of its presence still pressed upon them, a reminder of the immense responsibility they now bore. Ford stepped forward, his face grim but resolute. "We've unlocked the power. Now it's time to use it." Livia, who had been silent since the moment they had made their decision, finally spoke. "We can't hesitate. The Dominion won't stop until they've destroyed everything we've built." Rhea nodded. "We're ready." With a final surge of energy, the spire's core split open, revealing a shimmering gateway, a portal that seemed to pulse with the same energy they had just unlocked. It stretched out before them like a tear in the fabric of reality, ready to carry them to wherever they needed to go. But Rhea knew that the true challenge wasn't just reaching the heart of the Dominion. It was what came afterward. Could they control this power? Would it consume them as it had consumed the ancients? Or would they use it wisely, as they had promised each other? The choice was still theirs, and the consequences of that decision would resonate across the galaxy. "We'll need to move quickly," Rhea said, her voice steady. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about everyone, every world that the Dominion has taken. We have to end this, now." They stepped forward, crossing the threshold of the portal. The moment they passed through, the light around them intensified, and the world seemed to twist and stretch in impossible ways. The familiar surroundings of the spire dissolved into a sea of stars, and in the distance, they saw it, an immense fleet, dark and foreboding, its warships hanging like shadows against the backdrop of a dying sun. The Dominion. They had arrived at the heart of the storm, but it wasn't just a battle for survival now. It was a battle for the very soul of the galaxy, and they had come prepared. As they landed on the foreign world, the power they had unlocked surged within them, responding to their will. Rhea could feel it, like an extension of herself, an unshakable force that could shatter the Dominion in an instant. But she held it in check. Control was the key. She would not allow the power to consume her or her team. They would use it to reshape the galaxy, but they would not lose themselves in the process. The ground beneath their feet trembled, and the sky above darkened, as though the very world knew what was coming. The Dominion fleet had detected their arrival, and the first wave of battle drones descended from the sky, ready to engage. "Here we go," Ford said, his voice full of steely determination. Rhea raised her hand, feeling the power surge within her. The energy responded, twisting into a form she could control. She wasn't alone in this. Her team stood beside her, their own wills focused on the same goal. Together, they were unstoppable. The first wave of Dominion drones charged, weapons primed, but before they could fire, Rhea unleashed the energy. A wave of force erupted from her hand, tearing through the drones in a flash of light. The power flowed from her like an unstoppable river, cutting through the Dominion forces with precision. Each blast felt like a hammer to the heart of the enemy, and with every strike, Rhea felt the galaxy's future shifting, slowly but surely, toward a new dawn. "Keep pushing," she shouted to her team. Ford and Livia followed her lead, unleashing their own powers, their will focused as one. The Dominion fleet was vast, but they were united, fueled by the knowledge and strength of the ancient power they now controlled. It was a new force in the galaxy, one that would not be easily vanquished. The sky above seemed to burn with the intensity of their attack. Ships fell from the sky in flames, and the ground shook beneath their feet as the Dominion's forces faltered. But the battle was far from over. Rhea could feel the presence of the Dominion's commanders, lurking in the shadows, ready to strike back with everything they had. But this time, it would be different. The Ascendants had warned them of the consequences of their choices. And now, Rhea understood that to truly save the galaxy, they would have to do more than just fight. They would have to reshape it. As the final waves of Dominion forces descended, Rhea stood tall, her team beside her. The choice they had made would echo through the stars, but they would make sure the galaxy they fought for was one worth saving. They weren't just humanity's last hope, they were its rebirth. With a final surge of energy, the battle began in earnest. The galaxy's fate rested in their hands. In this final chapter, the full extent of humanity's new power is revealed, as Rhea and her team prepare to take on the Dominion. The stakes are higher than ever, and the choice they've made will reshape the future of the galaxy, for better or worse. Their resolve and unity will be the key to their success.